Set in the distant future of 2012 in the irradiated zone of Ukraine, S.T.A.L.K.E.R has you play the role of an amnesiac named the Mark I. We control him as he tries to navigate his way through the chaos that is the zone as he seeks to find out his history through his only lead, a note on his PDA ordering the murder of S.T.A.L.K.E.R. This is your call to action, and a pretty decent one at that. But the story does suffer from a bit of pacing issues, with a mix of voice work, text dialogue, and dated cutscenes driving the story forward. Honestly, the voice work and cutscenes actually pulled me in, but I'll admit the text did lose my interest. However, in my opinion, the key draw to the game is the world of the zone. The disheveled hellscape is filled with danger and wonder that will have you fighting hordes of mutants and human survivors. You'll meet these challenges with a number of weapons and tools in a slightly aged gameplay. While it isn't the best, the gun handling actually feels pretty decent for a game this old. Bullet trajectories are reasonable, as are the location of hitboxes, which simply makes it feel awesome when you finally manage to get a headshot. I also like how the environments feel, and the way that anomalies add challenge and puzzle elements to the environments. However, I think that the worst elements of the gameplay are the AI. Once human combatants are aware of your location, they are simply hit scanned and will shoot at you regardless of whether you're obstructed behind cover or not. This will occasionally mean that bullets will pass through objects that they probably wouldn't in real life. Luckily, it does seem that the human AI does seem to have a bit of intelligence, as there were a number of times where I died because I stayed in one place for too long, only to be flanked and killed under fire from two directions. Animal combatants are far more basic, typically only attacking you in straight lines, with the only real challenge coming from large packs when they retreat and circle around you, overcoming the predictability. I also have an issue with the pure availability of ammo and weapons. There is a bit of a struggle early on, but as you follow the story, you get geared up really quickly, to the point where it became a waste of time for me to loot enemies in most circumstances. Fundamentally, Enhanced Edition changed very little to the original game. I've read that there's been some censorship, mainly removing references to the Soviet Union, but otherwise I honestly don't see much difference from the original. It does look a bit better, but based on my brief time with the original before it crashed, honestly, if I were to stick the two side by side, you probably really couldn't tell the difference. The world does look better than I expected overall, even better than Fallout 3 in my opinion, albeit in a more modern, gritty stylization. It is really atmospheric, and when it wants to be scary, it does an excellent job. The character design is okay, and the overall atmosphere is fine. However, I do feel that it is just missing some elements that would have drawn me in deeper to the world. I just can't quite place my finger on what that would be. The music is decent, setting a thematic tone, but typically fades into the background as ambient music, meaning that it's not exactly a soundtrack that you would turn on to listen to, but it's perfect for the weird absurdity of radioactive Ukraine. One of the areas where S.T.A.L.K.E.R does shine is its accessibility. Subtitles are on by default and has 13 languages for text and 7 languages for spoken dialogue. There's multiple difficulties that can be adjusted at any time, keys can be rebound on mouse and keyboard, and there is controller support, though they only have 2 barely different configuration options for you to choose from. Convenience is fairly decent. If you bought the originals before the enhanced versions came out, they were automatically added to your Steam or GOG accounts, which is a rare thing to see in modern gaming. Unfortunately, the enhancements are only available digitally, though you can play it on PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, Series, Switch, GOG, Steam, and the Epic Game Store. It's important to note that you can only get the original titles on GOG. While I personally have the Steam version, I found that the OG games were rather unstable on PC. I also couldn't manage to find a fix that seemed compatible with my Steam copy, But otherwise, the menus are reasonable, and I fail to see any bugs in my playthrough of the title. Overall, I enjoyed my experience with S.T.A.L.K.E.R, Shadow of Chernobyl Enhanced Edition. Some of the elements have aged a bit, but I think that many people would like this simpler type of FPS, except for maybe some of the backtracking elements. While it doesn't quite hold my attention like Metro did, with its environments and story, the world is still interesting, but I don't think it's so interesting that it significantly overweighs its faults. So in the end, I think it earns a decent. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Consider checking out my last review on Kane and Lynch, and subscribe. Till then, this has been Rob the Slob, and I'll see you in the virtual commute.